If you have a broken relationship, something that's fractured with someone in your life, a close friend, a family member, but you can get on the phone and you can give your apology of your tiny piece, even if they're wrong. And that person is good chance is going to come back to you, thank you, apologize for their piece. And now there's a thawing in the Cold War. And you'll be grateful and they'll be grateful. And your relationships, which are bigger than you, will be better. There's no way it could go backwards. There's nothing worse than arguing with someone that you love. Hey, this is Marc, Katz, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women, your personal trainer for love. Welcome back to the Love You podcast. This is a place where you can learn to understand men, make healthy relationship choices, and get the love that you deserve. If you enjoyed this podcast, and this isn't your first time, go to Apple, go to Spotify, give us 5 stars, leave us a positive review. It means a lot. I'm paying attention. I'm grateful. Thank you. Now that we have that out of the way, I want to talk about today's episode, which is called How to Apologize Even When You're Not Wrong. And that is a really challenging concept, one that I've still wrestle with as a married man. But I think there's some really great wisdom in here. It's not my wisdom. I'm sharing something that I learned from other people. I hope you enjoy it. It will come in the form of some anecdotes, so strap yourself in. What I'm about to share are a series of true stories. I don't know that anybody looks particularly good in those stories, but that's why we tell them. I do not do this podcast to look good. I do this to hopefully illustrate to you more effective ways of relating to people and being a human in the world that are more effective than our default settings, which are don't always lead us in the right direction, including how we argue with each other. A lot of people are not very fair fighters. You have probably been with men who are not very fair fighters. It is possible that despite your charms, you are not a fair fighter as well. And when it comes to disagreements, knowing how to manage that conflict is essential. That is the crux of today's podcast. So 20 years ago, I took a class called Landmark Education, the Landmark Forum. I enjoyed it, and I went through a few other adult education classes they had, the advanced class, the leadership and self-expression class. I'm botching this. It was many years ago. Maybe you know about Landmark, maybe you don't. I'm not selling it to you. It is not everybody's flavor, and that's another conversation for another day, but it is thoughtful, and it is challenging, and it really does hold up the mirror to you and help you realize where you're the common denominator in what's not working in your life. And I found it very transformative at the time. And in that seminar, I remember they talked about the power of an apology and how if you apologize for your piece of something, however minuscule it is, it creates the space for the other person to then in turn apologize to you for their piece of it, and in so doing create a healthier dialogue instead of people doing what we do, which is to double down on our mistakes and point fingers at the other person, which again, if you do very basic, fight or flight mechanism, the second you have an argument with someone, if you attack them, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to fight back or they're going to withdraw. I'm not having this conversation. I'm going to shut down. Neither of them fixes the problem. It just creates more fight or flight, and I'm more likely to be a fighter than a flighter, and that's no good for anybody either. So I was paying really close attention when they said, you need to apologize for your piece of things, even if it's not the majority of the story. That is the thing that opens up the possibility of having real reconciliation. So I remember there was a person in this Landmark Education class who told a story about he was not the details all matter, but he was a Filipino Catholic kid who was gay. And when he came out to his parents at age 16 or 17, because that was such an unacceptable thing to say, and this is again, probably back in the 90s, such an unacceptable thing for him to be within his family that his father kicked him out of the house, and they didn't speak for many, many years afterwards. And it's part of why he felt so tortured inside, is because he has a father and he has no relationship with his father, and it's why he came to this personal growth class called Landmark Forum. And in that class at the time, right, they facilitated this exercise and they said, call your father and apologize. What? What are you talking? Apologize to him? That bastard kicked me out of the house when I was the most scared, the youngest, the most vulnerable, confused about my identity, and I'm supposed to apologize to him? And this is like a case in point, right? No one's defending the dad's behavior. It is just understanding the dad's behavior. And what this class said is, it's more powerful, it's bigger of you to call up your dad, who you haven't talked to in 10 years, while you're here in the seminar, and call him and say, Dad, we haven't talked for 10 years. I know we had some troubles way back, but I know you're doing the best you can. I know it must have been very difficult for you as a Catholic Filipino man who's raised a certain way to accept who I was. But I know that you were struggling, and I know that you did your best, and I know that you love me, and I'm really sorry if I ever judged you, called you names, didn't understand your struggles to meet me where I was at. So I just wanted to say I'm sorry if you ever felt judged by me. When in fact, again, clearly the father was in the wrong and he was doing the judging. But this kid might be wrong in the 1%. Dad, you're a hateful bigot and you're a terrible person. I hope you go to hell. If he ever said that, he's just taking his 1% and saying, Dad, I'm really sorry. Right? And he's not saying 1%. He's just saying, I'm sorry for my role in our conflict. I know you love me. I know you're doing the best you can. Which, how do you think that's going to land with the father? That acknowledges his struggle. He knows he was wrong. So then the father in turn says, oh my God, son, I'm so glad you called. I don't know why this is so hard for me. I was terrible to you. I still don't fully understand it, but I do love you. I raised you from a child. Obviously, I want you to be happy. The son's apology facilitated the possibility of the dad apologizing. And it made a breakthrough. They reconciled due to the son apologizing, even though he was the one who was kicked out of the house. I saw this. It blew my mind. So fresh off of that, I remember my mom and sister having an argument. And I'm going to share this. And again, no one looks good in this exchange. My mom had given my sister, probably with my dad's life insurance money when he died at 53, $75,000 to put, and this is 20 years ago, to put a down payment on an apartment in New York City. That wasn't all she needed, but that was a good piece of it. So my mom gave my sister $75,000 to buy an apartment. That was a huge, huge sum of money. Then, now, it's still a huge sum of money. And my mom said, hey, this is your birthday gift. Don't expect to get anything else from me. This is the big gift of the year. And our family is really makes a big deal about holidays. And every holiday is a card and a gift and a phone call. And really, really big on that. And my mom said, hey, listen, I'm tapped out. You have an apartment. Enjoy the apartment, but I'm not doing anything for your birthday. So my sister's birthday comes and goes. And sure enough, my mom doesn't do anything. And my sister is upset. And she knows it's not a bad look. And knows it's not a good look, but she's still upset and kind of crabby that mom didn't acknowledge her with the basic card, call, gift, the thing that we normally do for birthdays, because she got accustomed to it by her mid-20s. That's how we roll. And so there was this tension between my mom and my sister, because my sister, despite being given a huge sum of money, was still like, you didn't step up to the plate the way I expect you to, Mom. And then there's a little back channel and they're both sniping at me. Right? I'm listening to both versions of the story. And I'm on the phone with my mom and she's like, I can't believe your sister, that little selfish bitch. How could she, after all I've done for her? Again, very reasonable thing to say. And again, I'm fresh off of this seminar. I said, Mom, call your daughter and apologize to her. What? Apologize to her? Yeah. I heard this thing. It was really interesting. It was really powerful, actually. If you are 1% wrong and she's 99% wrong, apologize for your 1% and see what happens. My mom's grumbling. My mom's not a self-help person at all. This is a very, very difficult thing for her, especially for her. Calls my sister. Hey, I know there's been a little tension between us. I want to apologize. I know I always make a big deal about your birthday. I know. And I told you I was not going to, but I know there's a set of expectations that you have about what it's like being my daughter in this family and what you're accustomed to. And I'm sorry if my inaction ended up disappointing you. That's it. My sister, tears. Oh my God, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I know I'm a horrible person. I'm so selfish. I couldn't get it out of my head. And right. And now they're sharing and they're crying and they're reconciling and the hatchet is buried. All because my mom chose to take that action where I don't even know that she did anything wrong, but my sister's feelings were hurt. She acknowledged that my sister's feelings were hurt. She owned it. That was it. So those are just two anecdotes from 20 years ago. Think about how powerful this can be if you bring this into your life. Let's say you were fighting with your boyfriend because he's been working long hours and you've been feeling neglected. And you said some harsh things to him, I could imagine. You told him that he values his work more than he values you. He values his accomplishments more than he values you. You're a second-class citizen. He's a shitty boyfriend. He doesn't really care about you. You have to rethink the entire relationship. I could just imagine the things that one might say after another late night where the boyfriend worked until 11 and didn't text and you were feeling neglected. And so then you went off on him and told him what a horrible person he was. And that is just sort of sitting there. So was he wrong for not prioritizing you, for not, yes, again, I'm not defending the boyfriend. I'm just making up a hypothetical situation. The powerful thing to do in this instance would be to call him up, to apologize for your piece in it. Hey, Brad, sorry about what I said the other day. You're a great boyfriend. That's why I'm with you. I know you love me. You treat me well. I love what we have when we're together. I think I'm sometimes just a little sad that you have such a big, all-encompassing, important job that it pulls us away. And then I feel abandoned, even though I know you're not going anywhere. It's not you're running around behind my back. It's just, these are the trade-offs that people have to make when you have an ambitious boyfriend. And so I know you're doing the best that you can, and I know that your job is important and you want to achieve great things to build a life with me and support a family. And I know. And so I'm really sorry for saying all the things I said. I was hurt and I'm scared and it was wrong. Right? What is he going to say after that? He's not going to say, fuck you. He's going to be like, oh my God, sweetie, that is the most sincere apology. I appreciate that. And furthermore, you're right. I have been working too much. And even when I'm working, you're on my mind. And I should acknowledge that. I should text you while I'm at work just to say goodnight or take 5 minutes of my time to reconnect with you or make plans for a week from now and do something nice for you. You deserve that. You're so patient with me as I'm building my career, and I'm so lucky to have you. So thank you for the apology, and I'm going to vow to do better. That is how that dynamic works. And it's not perfect, and it doesn't work every time, and I know I'm making it all up. But can you see how taking personal responsibility, right, of your piece of the action, if only that piece of the action, is transformative to the way someone sees you and interacts with you, when you're not pointing fingers and yelling and blaming, calling names, which is largely an ineffective communication strategy. So whether you do this right now is secondary, but you could. If you have a broken relationship, something that's fractured with someone in your life, a close friend, a family member, you can right now pick up the phone. You'd probably text them to say, hey, could we talk? But you can get on the phone and you can give your apology of your tiny piece, even if they're wrong. And that person is good chance is going to come back to you, thank you, apologize for their piece. And now there's a thawing in the Cold War. right? And you'll be grateful and they'll be grateful. And your relationships, which are bigger than you, will be better. There's no way it could go backwards. There's nothing worse than arguing with someone that you love. If this is your technique and you could take just a piece of what you learned today, I predict you're going to have happier, healthier relationships, not just romantically, but across all aspects of your life. My name is Marc Katz. This is the Love You Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share this with a friend. Give us a positive review on Apple. Give us a positive review on Spotify. And if you find what you're learning here interesting and applicable to your relationships, and you want to have more confidence, and you want to have more power, and you want to have better communication, and you want to have better understanding, and you want to pick better guys to practice these ideas on, go to evanmarckatz.com/now. Book a free breakthrough call with me, but only if you're ready to take the leap and transform your life and join Love You to get a relationship where you feel cherished and loved and safe and heard and understood. Thank you so much for your time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.